fun question to kick us off today.
Yeah?
If you could turn any celebrity into your bathtub, which one would it be?
So they're going to become the bathtub, I'm going to climb inside them to wash.
Yes.
Look, maybe it's a basic answer, but the first one that came to my head is Willem Dafoe. And that might just be because I saw him fight a vampire this weekend in a film, and he's on my mind.
I mean...
But I think he would chew the scenery well. Like, I would enjoy the banter that would come from bathtub Willem Dafoe.
It's a strong answer.
I would go with Shaquille O'Neal.
Ooh.
There's a few reasons for this. One, he's huge. You really stretch out.
Oh, you get a
Two,
real good... Yeah.
He seems warm and friendly and like the kind of guy that you'd like to just sort of nestle in. Like, I bet he gives incredible hugs, right? And three, I'm pretty sure if he's not a billionaire yet, he will be, and that's one less.
Now, I have an argument against Shaquille O'Neal, and it's not a fair argument to use against him, but I hold it against him personally, and this is just me. I resent him because I had to think about him this week, because on my TikTok, I saw a video, he was DJing a set at some festival, and he made the most goddamn atrocious dance music mix of Welcome to the Black Parade I've ever heard. It was unlistenable.
So you have a vendetta now.
Oh yeah, no, like, I saw Shaq performs a mashup of MCR, and I was like, I'm very into this, and then I heard it, and I was like, that is a travesty toward the source material. I hate how excited you look at what you've done. You've not even beat matched it well, and I'm like, nah. I would not be able to have a relaxing bath because I would be complaining to him about his mashup the whole time.
Steph, what about you? Wait, so you came with this question and you...
It's a shit question. I feel like I'd be demeaned answering it, if I'm honest.
Oh, so this question was a trap for it. Was this a trap for us? You asked us, and then we're like, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed that you answered it."
Well, joke's on you if that's the case, because I went to the grocery store today in a pink bunny onesie because I was out of coffee.
That's amazing. Amazing. That's a lot more dignified than answering a question about which celebrity you'd like to be. Basically, several seconds before I hit record, I imagined turning British celebrity, because I've been watching a lot of Big Fat Quiz because it was around the holiday times. So I just imagined a slow, agonizing body horror style process of turning Jimmy Carr into a bathtub in a vein similar to the movie Tusk.
Yes.
So I was just having fun imagining both of you taking baths in horrific, broken bone, fleshy amalgamations of Willem Dafoe and Shaq. Also, I realised the question was incredibly stupid about halfway through asking it, but had committed and decided I would not answer it. And that I'd just hang everyone else out to dry.
That doesn't change anything about my answer, though. Having the context of being inside fleshy bone, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm good. Yeah.
Oh, God, terrible banter to kick us off. Sorry. Terrible. If I were to run a self-assessment at the moment, I would say terrible banter on my part. But the only other thing one can have in the tank at this time is complaints about the snow. Because it's snowing and it sucks.
Yeah, you having the snow as well?
It sucks, Laura.
We're all having snow. We before you came on the call, me and Conrad were talking about the snow.
Yeah, I had snow.
Which fuckface did that song about let it snow, let it snow, let it snow?
I want to say Burl Ives.
Burl Ives.
That's my guess, but I'm not sure.
More like Burl Ives got a bone to pick with you about that song.
Right? More like slapped twat, because that's what it'd be if I got my fucking hands on him. With his pro-snow propaganda.
Written by lyricist Sammy Kahn and composer Julie Stein. Dean Martin, I think, made it famous.
Oh, the lot of them. The lot of them. They love the snow so much. What if we took their clothes off and made them sit in the woods in the snow? They wouldn't be singing then, would they? I'm annoyed with it. School's closed. That's annoying. you can't get to the shops or deliveries from the shops, and it's cold and I forgot. I'm wearing these slippers that I got for my birthday, giant lobster ones, and they've got like hard rubbery soles. So I keep walking outside into the snow to like check the mail and stuff, thinking I've got shoes on the whole time, because I'm forgetting that I'm actually wearing big plush lobsters. So the snow's been ruining my lobsters, and it's the snow's fault, not mine.
Well, you know what won't ruin your plush lobsters?
Terrible banter.
Video games.
Terrible
Sometimes
banter.
we talk about those here
again.
on
Sorry,
Podquisition.
I just feel the need to apologise again.
Look, don't apologise for your terrible banter.
I have sinned against you.
Look, if I felt sinned against any time that you brought a kind of middling bit of banter to the start of an episode, this wouldn't be the first.
Wounded.
But
it's the only reason I'm not more wounded is that was the best banter we've had. Quality banter.
Welcome to Podquisition. We're here. We talk about video games sometimes.
We do.
Who's played stuff this week?
You have.
I can kick us off if no one else.
I played 2 things, and one of them was one I played last week, so I ain't got much interesting to bring.
I'll start with this then. I've gotten back into speedrunning terrible games that I haven't done in a while. It's been a while, and the itch has returned, and I'm like, I've talked about this before, but I have this thing where occasionally I will get the urge to go on speedrun.com and find games that no one has ever speedrun, and go speedrun them so I can be the de facto world record speedrunner, fastest in the world at speedrunning a game that no one really cares about, and then see if a little community crops up around it. And one of those games that I speedran back in the day, last time I played this game was 3 years ago, is Babysitting Mama for the Wii. This is a 2010 game that, if you've never seen it, you take a Wii remote and insert it into the spine of a plush fake baby, and then you do Cooking Mama style minigames that are antithetical to everything that speedrunning usually is. Because the developers of this game are very, 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 very aware of the fact that shaken baby syndrome exists, and that they do not want their motion-controlled minigame about motion controlling a baby to have you shaking a baby.
Fucking hell.
So the thing that I think makes this game fucking beautiful to speedrun is that you are trying to do the minigames as quickly as possible with all of your motion controls, while not going so fast that you get like an 8-second time penalty as the game goes, no, don't shake the baby, and puts a mandatory warning on screen and forces you to sit for a couple of seconds and acknowledge it with a button press. Like, that's the biggest time loss potential in this speedrun, is you accidentally went a little too fast and the game thought you were shaking the baby and had to give you a lecture about not shaking babies. And I think that the combination of, it's a game in a franchise that, like, people have heard of Cooking Mama, they can work out what Babysitting Mama is. It comes with a weird prop that you've got to speedrun with, and the biggest challenge is not accidentally getting a lecture about shaken baby syndrome, I think makes it a wonderful speedrunning game.
That's incredible.
Right? So, I, 3 years ago, set all the records for this game. The big main category is doing all the levels for all 6 babies, which is like a 4.5 to 5 hour long speedrun. But where the real fun is in the individual baby categories, because these are 45 minutes or so. It's a much more manageable one to start having a fight over top place runs with. You can fit in a 45-minute attempt anytime. And in the 3 years since I last ran this, when I stopped running this, no one else was really playing it. I came back 3 years later. There has been a little bit of competition for first place on one of the individual baby runs. I'm now in 3rd place because a little competition with a couple of other people started to crop up around one specific individual baby speedrun, and this is Yuto. Yuto is the box art baby. Yuto is the baby that the plush controller that you're doing motion controls with is based on. I think that's why this is the one that got competitive. People were like, if I'm gonna if I'm gonna try and win a record on this game, I want it to be for the baby that, like, the game has as its box art.
Yeah.
So I came back to this after, like, a 3-year gap, and, like, the new record is, like, 4 minutes faster than mine. I was at 43 minutes, they're at 39 minutes or so. And I'm pretty happy with how my coming back to speedrunning this game has gone so far. Despite having not played in 3 years, I streamed it for one night on Monday this week, shaved 2 minutes off my PB, so I've got, like, 2 minutes off of what was previously my record. I'm halfway to getting that record back. I've been learning tech. I've been working out the new speedrun tech and seeing what the other runners have been learning that I can learn from their runs. The big thing in this little speedrun I'm doing, there's a couple of minigames it's just faster to deliberately fail. Things like, you're playing hide and seek with the baby, just deliberately fail it. Let the baby find you every time. Much quicker than actually doing it. There's a minigame that's about trying to understand what the baby is saying. Just stare blank-faced at the baby and don't even try and understand what they're saying. It's way quicker. My favourite one is, like, your hat gets stuck up in a tree, and there's this child being like, go get your hat. Don't even try. Don't try. Just accept that hat is gone. You will save time. My favourite place I have found to save time so far compared to the current record holder is there is a minigame in this speedrun that is shake the nunchuck to make the baby crawl faster. It's a baby race. But there are bottles of milk throughout the track that I don't know what the fuck they put in this milk. But this baby goes from crawling to not only walking, skips over walking, full-on sprinting. This baby goes from crawling to briefly being able to do Olympic-level sprinting.
Heroin. A baby.
That's what we were joking. It was meth milk.
A baby will quite literally jump through hoops for a bottle full of heroin.
It really does feel like we've spiked it with something.
There's a boxing league in Leeds. I've seen it. I don't approve of it, by the way. I don't approve of it. The reason I go there and bet on it is because I'm trying to bring it down from the inside by winning all of the money that they have, so it has to shut down. That's why I'm at the heroin baby betting rink.
You just keep telling yourself that.
It's a condemned ice rink in Leeds. I won't tell you exactly where. I do worry I've narrowed it down.
I mean, I don't know how many condemned ice rinks there could be in Leeds, but
yeah, I am a bit worried I've given too much away, because I'm going to be honest with you. It's not strictly legal.
You say that as if I would have thought it was legal.
Elements of it are. When I take the bus there, that's legal.
That's legal.
And then when I'm home afterwards, that is legal too. I'm allowed to be in my own house, Laura.
Yeah, you are allowed to be in your own house.
And I was there all night, wink.
Wink.
I don't know where I'm going. Terrible banter.
Nah. Well, I have worked out some of the pro strats for the baby meth milk league. The pro strat is you don't let the baby have the second bottle of milk as soon as it arrives. You make him hold back for a couple of seconds. Because the trick is, if you get the second bottle of milk straight away, you will run into a closed, like, one of those gates that stops the baby going up the stairs. What you do is you deliberately wait for about 4 seconds before taking the second bottle of milk, because then you don't waste any of the boost running into a gate that's closed. You wait until the gate auto opens, then you can boost all the way to the finish line. You don't have to do any crawling at the end.
Brilliant.
This is the baby meth, the milk meth baby racing pro strats for any of you who need to know. Legitimately, if any of you listening want to get involved in a really stupid speedrunning community, there are 3 people total speedrunning Babysitting Mama right now. Most of the individual baby categories, I set a time 3 years ago and it never got contested. Go find for like a tenner one of these weird babies on eBay and come join me in the competitive baby milk sprinting competitive speedrun league.
Jesus.
Give me more competition. Because I'm genuinely having a lot of fun trying to shave like 4 minutes of my time to reclaim that record. I want other people to compete against. I want to get back into this. So that's what I've been doing this week.
I honestly, I want that. I want there to be a big explosion of interest. I would love that.
Honestly,
I would love
like,
if you kickstarted a whole new speedrunning phenomenon.
The Cooking Mama games are all really popular on speedrun.com. Babysitting Mama is like right in that wheelhouse, and it just needs people to realize it exists and to go, "This is fucking bonkers. I'm here for competitive rocking but not shaking the baby."
Okay, it's fuel a baby boom, essentially.
But this has like a peripheral or something, right?
It does, yeah. It's got just like a little plush baby.
That necessarily limits the number of people who are probably going to be...
look, let's be honest. You can just play it with a Wii remote.
Oh, well.
There's nothing, like, there's not anything that says you have to use the baby. But I will say this. If you go out there and you take first place and you beat my record time, and I look at the video that was uploaded of you beating my record, and you're just using a regular Wii remote and not the baby, I can't stop you doing that, but I will be disappointed in you.
You just need to set up a new speed running parameter. You know, baby, no baby, any percent baby.
I mean, that's the thing. If this game gets popular, at the very least, I would make sure that there's a tag by people's names so that, like, you have to have the shame of, yeah, I got first place, but I did so with the no baby tag. Who else has played stuff this week?
I have literally just been in my factory. And I'm not even, like, making legitimate progress in Satisfactory, like in any meaningful sense. Like, I'm just laying foundational stuff endlessly to no end. I'm not actually like then using the machines that I build. I'm building machines to refine materials for a long distant goal that I will burn out and never complete. It's been fun. Yeah.
That sounds like any time I play any kind of factory game.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes in other games of this sort, like Factorio, I played through to completion a couple of times. I've never finished Satisfactory through to the content available as of its early access periods or now that it's in release. I don't know how it ends. I don't know why I'm doing all of this in the lore, but yeah, I will eventually. I know I'm going to burn out on this because it is just too complex. There's too many options, and I'm trying to do too much. But it's fun as shit. Like, it's just so meditative that I can lose an entire day to this. It's not hard. Steph, you play anything?
My baby boom joke was good banter. Conrad's
Congratulations.
disapproving noise is inconsistent with reality. I just want to officiate that.
Sure.
That's a ruling that's been ruled. Other than that, So, I've been playing a game the whole time we've been recording. And you might think that's why the banter was bad, because I was distracted. Unfortunately, I do not have that excuse. And you'll see why in a moment. So, I think there could be no better demonstration of the saturation of the live service market and the terrible fucking state it's in than me only just finding out there was a new Dynasty Warriors game and finding that out via the news that after 15 months it's closing. That's the first I heard of Dynasty Warriors M.
Does M stand for mobile?
I'm guessing it stands for mobile because it's on my phone right now. And why I can't use it as an excuse is because, like every single one of these fucking games, the gameplay part is such an afterthought that it's just more efficient and no less quote-unquote fun to just press auto battle and let it play itself.
Ah.
Because it has a lot more fun with itself than you could have with it. So I've just been occasionally pressing pictures to go to these battles where my loot box acquired warriors will just fight themselves with a battle system that is, if you can believe it, even more simplified than the bad simplified Dynasty Warriors games. And that includes the worst Dynasty Warriors game, from which this one takes its assets and general gameplay stuff from, including the same, like, cloned movesets and shit. Like, Zhang He's in it. He's got those fucking throwing knives from 9, so not only is it an unexciting live service, they took the least exciting Dynasty Warriors game to make it out of. There's not a lot I could tell you that you won't already know from anything post Raid Shadow Legends. It's the same usual shit. I downloaded this about 20 minutes ago. I'm already sick of it. It ran me through the... I hesitate to call what these games do a tutorial, because what they do is they info dump at you, and they're like, press this button to do this, press that button to do that, and it throws... It's got a home screen with buttons laid out, not even laid out, strewn about, and it just flashes them in sequence, and you press them, and there are so many different resources and so many different JPEGs that you don't really take any of the information in, which of course benefits a game that's designed to swindle money out of people, because you don't know what anything does. You get confused, and then there's a button that says, buy this, it'll make it good. I see, exactly how people get suckered into it. I went on the loot box section. It's like the gacha shit, like in that one that everyone likes. That's how you get new characters. There was a picture of Zhang He on one of them, and I clicked on that one a bunch of times, and I got everyone except him. So that is disappointing. The whole thing is disappointing. Of course it's closing after 15 months. Of course it is.
What else could it do?
There's no room for this shit. Like, the prime meat for these games, the primary target, they've got Raid Shadow Legends and a handful of other ones that had something else to offer, like, there's a Marvel version and stuff like that. The crossover between Dynasty Warriors and people who like this kind of shit clearly isn't enough to keep the game supported, and it wouldn't have been. I could have told you that. I could tell the game industry lots of things, and they've never listened, even when I was at my most influential. Certainly not going to listen now, but I'm right. I could have looked at this and said, don't do it.
Like, I have to wonder if there is an audience in Asia that is much more engaged with this game than Western audiences are, and they made it for them and then produced a version for the West. Because you're right, it does not make a lot of sense to me from knowing what I know about the general popularity of Dynasty Warriors. That, it's popular, but it's not like a huge franchise. Certainly not anymore.
Well, not in the West, no.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like there has to be, like, still pretty significant demand, and maybe they were making money over there and just tried it over here.
I mean, possibly. From what I'm gathering, the whole thing's shutting down.
Yeah. They very well could have been wrong about that, right?
Yeah, but yeah. There is a decent chance that, I mean, it's not even been, like, localized voice-wise, because, why would they? Tecmo Koei, cheap as fuck. The bare minimum's been done to localize it for the West. There is a chance that they thought their chances were good in Japan. I still would have thought it was sketch. They've got Dynasty Warriors Online to the fans. A shitty fucking gacha version. Well, the proof is in the failure. I think the whole thing is shutting down, like, worldwide. And then there's the usual issue of, fuck, people have spent all of this money to get their fake money, and now we have to deal with that whole mess. It's just yet more evidence of what I've been saying, which is don't buy off on these things. The whole live service thing is a trend, and I've said this before, it's a trend designed to take everybody's time and money, and they're trying to build an entire market of games like that. That was never sustainable. And the fact that they're still trying demonstrates just how stupid the industry's leadership is, just how short-sighted, just how unable to stop themselves making the same mistakes over and over again. This is sad. I'm looking at the home screen of this now with its little castle that you can build stuff in, and there's a wait time that, of course, you can spend resources on to skip. It's the same old shit. It's just another one. There's a picture of 2 Dynasty Warriors characters currently on the screen here. One is the avatar I chose. The other is a scrolling commercial of the loot box ones. If you blurred those out and told me that was Raid Shadow Legends, what I'm looking at, I'd believe it. Or anything. You could have said it was anything that's a mobile game attached to any property, and I'd believe it, because they're all the same. And I wish they'd get it through their thick fucking heads that people don't need Raid Shadow Legends if they've got Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah.
We're trying to... So I realise I'm stammering a lot because I am at a point of such frustration with the industry and disbelief. And you'd think I wouldn't be in disbelief because I've been doing this for so long and I've been watching this for so long. I think it's important to keep your disbelief razor sharp with this industry. I don't think one should ever get used to this. So I make sure that I am in a state of constant bewilderment. And for me, that ain't hard to do. But I am in a continued 10-year-long stretch of disbelief. And all media's going this way, at least, again, in the West. Creative industries run almost entirely on a lack of imagination. Of course everything's a fucking mess. This screen makes me sad. I haven't even given you much of a visual description of it. I don't need to. Whatever you're picturing, you're more or less there.
That's a shame.
It's just sad. Really sad. 15 months. That's how long it lasted.
15 months is not a bad run.
I mean, I was about to say, it's better than some of the innings that Square Enix's have had.
Yeah. Seeing one of these last a year these days is a bit impressive.
Yeah.
It should draw into sharp relief how bad things are that one of these games lasting for 12 months feels a bit like an accomplishment. But here we are.
Honestly, yeah, you're right. That is the sad state of affairs we're in. And what really gets me is they've seemingly not considered that every time this happens, they make it harder for themselves next time. Because we've seen this happen so much, and my advice, 2 years ago, was don't spend time and money on these games. If you play them, you've got to keep it as casual as fuck, because if you get too invested, you're just going to get disappointed when it shuts down because there weren't enough of you. The market has been burned so much. We look at something like Concord and see just how fucking badly that did. And there are many factors that went into its failure, but I think a big factor is you can't keep doing this to customers. And not from a gamers rise up perspective, it's from a people will get exhausted by you. And we are at a point of market exhaustion. People don't want to spend months of their lives playing a game only to have everything they've invested get taken offline. We're at a point where these games are demanding so much investment, and yet has repeatedly sent the message that the investment is a waste of your time. And they still somehow think that's sustainable because they're so desperate for a hit.
Yeah.
They think yeah, let's just spin the wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel. One of them will succeed, but every spin of that wheel reduces the odds of winning.
Now, there's a game.
Yes, actually, yeah. Oh god, there actually is a game in that. I might need to call some people.
Yeah.
Terrible. Right, now that I've done that, I've said that I'm gonna delete this app off my fucking phone.
Other stuff we've been playing this week. I've not got a lot to say about this, but I've been playing a little bit of Factorio Space Age this week. And I'll give you the little bit of preamble as to how I ended up here. Factorio is a game that I don't play in my own time. I play it in like half-hour bursts once a week. There is a small human that I sometimes sit and play video games with, and we play a lot of Factorio. And we don't get very far, because this is a small human with ADHD trying to play a game that requires thoughtful, methodical laying out of automated factory setups. So we don't get very far, but we have fun playing it. And for Christmas, this small person may have gotten the new Space Age DLC for the game and not realised it was a paid update, and been very upset at me that, for some reason, I wasn't seeing all the new content I was supposed to be seeing, and I worked out what was going on. I was like, okay, it's fine, I'll pick it up, let's give this a look. And so far, I did a little bit of free play where I got to see some of the new stuff, but largely what this has meant is me restarting a playthrough from scratch to build my way to the new content, is what it's ultimately been. But as opposed to building a factory setup on the ground, it seems like now part of it is you have a little floating platform in space, and there are asteroids trying to crash into it, so you've got to build like little defenses to break up the asteroids, or things to harvest the asteroids to make materials. You can build like solar panels to power your factory setup rather than, you know, whatever power generating systems you would have back down on the ground. I will give it that the new Space Age content looks dramatically different, like it is a noticeably different setting to be doing automated systems in. And that is about all I have to say on that, because most of what I've spent my time doing with it is starting a new world from scratch and trying to work my way to see the new content. But I got to see a little bit of it, and solar panels are cool. I don't really know what the progression is up in space yet. So there's my entirely very in-depth opinions on Factorio Space Age. Have either of you played anything else this week?
The only other thing for me... Conrad, did you play anything else?
No, go ahead.
No? Okay. It's been almost exclusively, outside of that past 15 minutes, wasting my life on that shit. Sengoku Basura Samurai Heroes. I tell you how bad it is, my current obsession with it. I bought a Pro Controller, a Wii Classic Pro Controller to play it, right?
Yeah.
I've had that about a week, and it's broken.
Oh, did you fuck the Y button again?
I've played so much of this button masher that I mashed the button to actual death. And the Y button, the main attack button, within a week of having this Pro Controller, became really sticky and wouldn't pop back up. And that got worse and worse, because it didn't stop me from playing it. So I just continued abusing the controller, occasionally slapping it on the side to make it pop back up. That's after I broke a knife, because Fee made the mistake of leaving me alone in the house for an evening. Within an hour, I had broken one of our knives, trying to jimmy the button and snapping the point off the knife. Fee tried to fix it, took it apart, started filing down parts of it that had gotten eroded and bent out of shape.
I'd have tried to find some sort of lubricant instead of shaving that.
Well, we tried that first.
Yeah.
We did try that first. That didn't help. So Fee opened it up, had a look in the guts and everything. And there was a bit... There are like these three little points on the Y button that sort of nestles the button in place.
Mm-hmm.
One of those points had been eroded and misshapen and seemed to be the cause of the problem. Now, It turns out that despite those controllers feeling cheap as fuck, the plastic is like fucking adamantium. Like, parts of it, the buttons, are really hard, to the point where Fee was struggling using a diamond file to file it down. And through sheer force of my obsession with Sengoku Basura, I had eroded it by just pressing it a lot. So that's how bad it is. I still struggled with the controller on stream last night and managed to get 3/4 of the way into my first level before I realised this isn't working. The controller was just too fucked at that point. Anything that involved actually tapping the button wouldn't work anymore because I'd tap it, it would stick, and that would be that. It had become unusable. Fee took the original controller I bought from CEX that I just bought and didn't work, took that apart, and after complaining about the shit soldering job that had been done in that, because whenever Fee goes near electronics, they go into total dad mode. So straight away, it was like fucking soldering on that. Shoddy workmanship. Basically, I now have a Frankenstein's monster. And they did this on stream, so I got to really like show off and brag. They took the buttons off the broken one and put it on the broken buttons of the one that I ruined. So I now have this black controller with white face buttons, classy little Dalmatian thing, and it works. So Fee did a button transplant live on stream, and I was able to do the rest of the stream. It's not 100%, but it absolutely gets the job done, and I'm like super impressed. And of course, when I told Fee just how thankful and amazed and impressed I was, their first thing was, I'm sorry I didn't think of it sooner. Genuinely upset that they hadn't, as if I'd be furious about it. Bless them.
Bless.
I love them so much. But I am so fucking impressed and delighted that they did that. As for the game, I am still fucking obsessed with it. I'm learning new things about it. Like, for a combat system that feels initially shallower than even Dynasty Warriors, the things you can do, the way you can synergize a character's attacks. My favourite character, Motonari Mari, I've been learning to use his abilities much better, to the point where he has this barrier he can summon that reflects projectiles. That's all they tell you in the game's menus that it does. It also bounces enemies off it, and you can summon 2 of them. And it's a little tricky to do, but you can maneuver it in such a way as you turn everyone into a pinball bitch. Including big boss characters. If you trick them into standing between your 2 barriers, and you get them to touch just one, they bing back and forth between them so fucking rapidly. It's incredible. Then I have another move. He's got access to another move that throws down this, like, large ring radius that traps people inside it and just deals continuous damage. And you can throw that over the top of the barrier, and the barrier has some synergy that keeps making the ring, because the ring shrinks before disappearing. As it shrinks, it touches the barrier, and the ring bounces off it and expands again. The game doesn't tell you this. You just stumble onto it and think, holy fuck, that move I thought was not as good as it is better than it is. There's all sorts of things like that. Like, there's a character whose whole thing is summoning big, shadowy, grabby hands, and I've learned with the right timing, you can use the attack that has a hand, bash people, and throw them. If I time that right, I can throw them into another trap that I've summoned. And it feels fucking great when you figure it out. All of this from a Dynasty Warriors clone that initially looks so much more simplified. It sucks that this series failed as hard as it did. It had this little moment in Japan where it was like a cultural phenomenon. Never did well over here, so only 2 games ever made it across, and one of those was the butchered Devil Kings I talked about last week. Especially where we're at now with Dynasty Warriors, with how serious and po-faced it is. I need this. And I think a lot of fans of this type of gameplay, of Muso-style games. They need this. The game is so deliciously stupid in the best ways, and so inventive for what it is. It really is a crying shame that I don't think we're ever going to get another one. And I don't think we're ever going to get, like, a re-release. Like, I would take that as well. If I could get Sengoku Basura 4 released over here, or a reissue of 3, that would be fantastic. But I really think Capcom's left it in the dust for good. And I fucking hate that for it. Because I want it back. I desperately want it back. Oh well. I've still got this one. And it is glorious. And if you are a fan of Dynasty Warriors, and you do want something that's colourful and silly, and over the top as fuck, and has Troy Baker screaming Ieyasu to such wanksty levels, it starts funny, becomes incredibly cringy, and then loops right back round to funny shit. Do look into it, because it's glorious in its stupidity, and I adore it. Yeah, and that's that. And I will probably play more until next week as well. And I'm going to be super careful with the buttons.
Mash them, but mash them with care.
Yes, exactly. It's the same approach I take to wanking. Have a mash, sure, but don't erode it until it's a nub.
Yeah.
I mean, for some of us, it was already there, so you got to be even more careful.
We up for a couple of newsy bits before we finish today?
Oh, I don't see why not.
Hey everybody, chronologically later, Conrad here. This next news story is a real bummer, and you might want to skip it if you're not in a space to deal with some description of abuse, including inflicted emotional trauma and self-harm. Skip ahead 5.5 minutes or refer to the timestamps in the episode description if that sounds like it'd be good for you.
So we should probably start with this one, get it out of the way. Surprise, surprise, it's not over. We've got a story about Ubisoft and reports of abuse.
Fucking
to
scum.
talk about. Yeah. So, there is a new video up on the People Make Games YouTube channel that is well worth watching. It went up earlier this week. It is called 100 Slaps, the breaking news the game industry ignored in 2024. It is a very good watch. I think People Make Games generally does very good investigative reporting. It is a heavy watch. I will warn people that in advance. But the short version is there is a support studio for Ubisoft in Indonesia called Brandoville. The studio no longer exists. It closed in August of last year. It had been doing support work on Assassin's Creed Shadows. And after the studio closed, reports of abuse began to emerge. Without going too deep into specifics of every single thing that came up in the People Make Games video, these allegations range from 2019 through to 2024 when the studio closed, and a lot of them center on Kwan Cherry Lai, who was the commissioner at Brandoville, talking about abuse of multiple employees that ranged from overly strict work schedules to enforced daily Christian worship to
Jesus Christ. Sorry, I didn't even mean to do that as a joke. Shit. No.
Yeah.
That was a genuine reaction. That wasn't a joke. I just didn't think clearly. But that was genuinely a holy shit from me. Enforced Christian worship.
Yep.
Enforced daily Christian worship.
My fucking word.
Reports of forcing an employee to write lines like a schoolchild in the I will not misbehave at work over and over style. Humiliating that employee in front of her colleagues. Demanding a video of her slapping herself 100 times as punishment.
What?
Well, I don't know if that's entirely a fair characterization of what happened. She demanded proof that the woman had slapped herself 100 times in the face, and a video was provided. Yes, that actually.
Okay, that's.
Like,
I was gonna say, I think it's splitting hairs at that point. Send me proof you slapped yourself in the face 100 times.
Yeah.
I guess she could have submitted a fucking flipbook photo.
Right. Yeah.
But
it's fucking absurd and cruel and that is, it is why shit like this, like, it's why studios outsource the labor. Because there aren't the protections for workers, so they can be abused and paid a pittance and be told that they owe the company money and then are not allowed to resign. That's why they're doing it, because human life is meaningless to them.
Yeah. This is not a Ubisoft-specific practice using these kind of outsourcing studios, and this is a Ubisoft example, but like
this is
countless big companies. Problem. Yeah, the reason that so many sports studios get used is they can be underpaid for their labor compared to what they would otherwise be paid, and the companies at the top can wash their hands if anything like this comes up and go, "Oh, we didn't know."
And it's not good enough, obviously, I think we all agree there. Like, because they can say, we don't know about this specifically. They fucking know about it generally.
Yeah.
And they still use it. They still do it. So, sorry, you are still paying these companies that you know to be abusive. You are fucking culpable, you cunt.
There's a couple of other examples I will give here at the end that are a couple of the bigger and heavier ones that will not linger in them too much. Examples also included controlling the finances of employees and overworking a pregnant employee whose prematurely born son died after 4 months in intensive care. Go watch the whole video if you have the stomach for it. It is an important watch. It is a heavy watch. A Ubisoft spokesperson did give a quote to Eurogamer about all of this stuff. Their response was, "We're deeply disturbed by the recent reports surrounding Brandoville Studios. We strongly condemn all forms of abuse, and our thoughts are with the infected employees." Mm-hmm. And that's that.
Well, that's all they have to say.
Yeah, we don't like abuse. Sorry it happened over there. That wasn't our fault.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with us. We certainly weren't paying the people who did it. Oh, wait.
Yeah. So that's, we'll get the heavy and nasty little news
We're
story
gonna
out
have
of the
to
way.
edit in a prefacing content warning, I think, for that. I think that's how fucking disturbing that story is.
I will put one in.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And keep this bit in, because I want to make the point that we've had to fucking do that. To talk about video games.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
But with that out the way first, so that we can talk about some stuff that's not so fucking horrible, I want to chime in with another episode of Laura Updates You on how fucking ridiculous it is that Nintendo hasn't announced the Switch 2 yet.
Oh, I love this stuff.
It continues to get more and more fucking hilarious by the week, and I'm fascinated by following this whole saga as it has been unfolding. So, as of when we record this, we're recording this on Wednesday the 8th of January, CES is currently going on in Las Vegas, the Consumer Electronics Show. And, this is not a video game specific event. You get, one thing I know is being shown off this year is, a spoon that uses electricity to make you think your food tastes salty when it doesn't.
What?
Shit like that. Yeah, so if you can't have more salt, but you want your food to taste like salt, you use a special electric spoon. It's a show for tech shit.
Yeah.
But there was a moment leading up to CES where people were a little bit intrigued, because there's a gaming peripheral company called Genki who said 3 or 4 days before CES, "Hey, come see us at our booth on the first day of CES. We've got answers about the Switch 2 for you." And people were like, "Okay, is this bullshit? What the fuck have you got going on here?" People turn up to their booth, and Genki have several 3D printed models of the Switch 2 and a bunch of peripherals for it that they're showcasing and showing off. But this is where it gets interesting. They claim to have purchased a final retail Switch 2 on the black market with which to design their peripherals.
Right.
They claim that it is apparently fairly easy, if you know who to ask and have money right now, to buy a finished Switch 2. And that's apparently what they did to be able to start making peripherals and shit. Is they just went and they found a black market seller to just sell them a finished Wii U. If I can Switch 2, sorry.
That is a fascinating admission. And I do wonder about, like, legality. and whether it's wise to say that aloud where someone can hear you.
I mean, look, Genki wouldn't be the ones to have broken the law. It would be whoever on the black market sold it would be the ones getting in trouble.
Yeah, but
I'll say this.
I wonder about, like, intellectual property controls, and, like, there are some, like, receiving stolen property is a crime in the United States. Like,
indeed, it depends where it has been purchased from. It depends. Is it stolen factory stock? Is it some company that legitimately has them? Here's the thing: if you've like received one as a developer, you're not supposed to sell it to anyone else. It's supposed to stay with you, and Nintendo like wants to enforce that you have it and that they have control of who has it. So like, yeah, you're probably right that there probably is some degree of you shouldn't have your hands on this. But I will say, as someone that, like, I reviewed the PS4 Slim, like, 2 weeks before before the thing was announced, like, 5-6 years ago, sometimes these things happen.
Sure.
And I'm curious how theirs happened, because I have some insight when it happened with me, but, yeah, it's a bold claim.
I just wouldn't use the term, I purchased this off the black market.
Right, it's not.
Yeah, it's the black market that,
Yeah, that's when you throw yourself open to some investigations at the very least. Because if you're like, oh yeah, I buy shit off the black market, and you say that really publicly, in a way that will piss off a corporation, I feel like that's just asking to have, like, shady people root through your trash and shit like that.
So, to be slightly clear, I don't know whether the wording of the bought on the black market comes directly from Genki or if it comes from French website Numerama, who were the ones who reported that Genki had said it is easy to purchase one on the black market if you put up... The thing that is definitely in quotes is if you put up the money.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So some of the rest of this may have been paraphrased. I don't know whether Genki themselves used the words the black market.
Yeah.
But the paraphrasing is... You can buy a Switch 2 on the black market if you put up the money.
Yeah.
Like, and that this is supposedly how Genki has produced peripherals.
It's at least... It might not be using the actual words, but it's more or less saying it. Yeah, like, regardless of whether or not that alone could get them into, like, legal trouble, it's going to put a target on your head.
Oh, God,
We know what Nintendo's like.
Part of me wants to go, is this just bluster?
Mm.
But I do believe Genki when they say this, that they've gotten their hands on a retail unit that they shouldn't have gotten. Because, like, having watched the videos of their... so they've got, like, a display that appears to have actual Switch 2 Joy-Cons, possibly. And there's function when you, like... I'm going to describe, like, a very small detail here that hadn't been seen anywhere else and would be hard to determine if you had, like, a 3D print scan of it. Which is the way that the new Joy-Cons detach seems to be, you push a button in sideways on the back of the Joy-Con, it pushes along the inside the rail on the Joy-Con, a little plastic sort of protrusion comes forward, and that's pressing a button on the inside of the Joy-Con rail, and that's what's causing it to trigger the detach mechanism. That's, like, the, like, specifics of interior movement mechanics that a 3D printed slab isn't going to tell you. That does suggest to me that, like, they've got one that's working.
Yeah.
And that, like, they can test the mechanics of. And I'm willing to believe it's not bluster, and that's fascinating to me.
Given the track record, I mean, the fact that you are able to name this as part of a series of things you do, Laura...
Yeah,
I'd be more shocked if the Switch 2 hadn't leaked in ways that Genki could have easily gotten hold of it. It's more surprising at this point that Nintendo can keep a lid on anything.
I'm really amazed at this point that they're still sticking by their guns of when they plan to announce this thing.
Yeah, and that's been an industry standard for, like, whenever... This goes back to before I used to cover games. Like, when me and Conrad were, like, game bloggers and shit, we'd see this every year at E3. Shit would leak, And the companies would refuse to acknowledge it because they had their plan in place. They were going to say it on a stage at E3, and no matter how much everybody was talking about it, they'd expect us to behave as if we'd just heard it when they announced it.
Yeah. And I can give like a little tiny bit of insight on this because I spent my day yesterday. It's gotten to the point that I ended up in possession of images of retail hardware that weren't out there yet yesterday. Of like nothing that exciting. It was like the back of the dock showing like what new charging standard it was going to need. It's not going to use your old Switch chargers. But like, I know enough about how the stuff I came into possession of happened that I'm like, I very much believe Genki when they say that like they got their hands on final hardware and not from Nintendo. And I'm just, I at this point, I genuinely think it's a matter of days before some YouTuber has a video up that is, I got my hands on the finished Switch 2. Yeah. There's no games for it yet, but here it is. Like, I think that video is, like, days away at this point. It's just weirdly fascinating to watch.
Nintendo is almost impressive in its, like, public ignorance of it all.
Yeah.
That's the industry for you. Mind you, I guess any game publisher has so much practice at being ignorant for real that pretending something isn't happening is just second nature.
It is. One kind of vaguely interesting thing that's come out of the Genki stuff is it seems to have confirmed a rumor that was doing the rounds this week that you might be able to turn your new Joy-Cons on their side and use them like a mouse.
Oh.
And that's pretty fucking interesting.
That is genuinely interesting. I said this because Laura was talking to me about this the other day.
Yeah, I caught wind of this a little before it started popping up online, but yeah.
My first thought was, well, the amount of fucking console games that now insist on having cursors for menus.
Right.
Having a pointer is a very natural answer to that and would make it slightly less of a fucking aggravation.
And I will say this, I if you go grab a current Joy-Con, turn it on its side, and like act as if the bumper and trigger are mouse buttons, it's surprisingly comfortable. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I could, this does work if you just slap a little optical thing on the rail, huh? So that's kind of funky. I'm just fascinated at how wildly out of control this has gotten with Nintendo just being like, we will at some point announce the successor to the Nintendo Switch, perhaps.
Amazing.
Yeah. And we've got one last little bit of news this week. You know Tencent?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of company would you describe them as if you had to describe them? Like, what do Tencent do? What are they as a company?
Rapacious.
The eater of worlds.
An owner of video game and media properties, mayhaps you might say, you know. There are words.
Consuming, unstoppable, Unicron-esque.
Well, we got a new way to describe them, according to the United States Department of Defense.
Oh.
Tencent is a Chinese military company.
Oh.
Well, sure. I mean, so is Activision. Yeah. So, I mean, Activision's an American military company with... Yeah, of course. Okay.
I suppose so. Tencent are saying, nope. This is a misunderstanding.
Yeah, so would Activision.
Please don't call us a military. Yeah. There's not been any specifics given as to, you know, exactly on what grounds, and... You know, it doesn't immediately mean that, like, Tencent games can't be sold in the United States, but, like...
Well, when we are on the verge of the TikTok ban...
I was about to
go into effect here, you know, and there is, for reasons, some anti-Chinese sentiment in this country.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can see this becoming a little political football, just like everything else related to trade in China.
Yes, because like the public statement from Tencent in response is, we vehemently object to this characterization, but we will be working with the US Department of Defense to rectify this situation. And that sounds like, okay, we'll contact them. How do we play nice to not lose the US market? What do we need to do for you to play nice with you, United States?
Either that, or can we speak to the Secretary of Defense? Get a few contracts. let's turn this into a business thing, boys.
Oh, but they can't because the Department of Defense can't contract with foreign-owned entities.
Well, that spoiled the fun of what I said. I was just trying to make it light.
But that's kind of the thing, like with the way TikTok is going to theoretically survive in the United States is through an acquisition by a U.S. company of ByteDance.
Right.
And while Tencent is way too large for that sort of thing, I can see them trying to suggest, well, you'll have to break this up, or do something else, or you can't do business here.
Well, I mean, creating degrees of separation is something companies are very good at. That was part of what I was talking about on the Jimquisition on Monday, finding steps between them and things that, we see happening. There are several ways they can get around any potential bans. I think you've laid out, some obvious first steps that they sort of look at. Either way, it's just... I still can't get over the TikTok thing. That's just fucking amazing.
We sure do live in a world.
We do, yes.
It continues to happen.
Yeah.
But there we go. We done the news.
Yeah,
we done the stuff.
We done that. Laura.
Me.
There's loads you do. Up to and including shaking plastic babies.
No, don't shake the baby.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Advising safe plastic baby care. What else do you do? Maybe we could learn other things about what not to do with peripherals.
You can find all the stuff I do at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. You can find me on Blue Sky, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. YouTube, if you go check out YouTube, I recorded a thing last week about the history of everything that seems verifiably to have leaked about the Switch 2, so if you're not as terminally online as me and are curious, you can go give that a look. What have I got coming up? I've got a video about one of the big mistakes that companies make when trying to introduce colorblind filters into games, that's going up tomorrow, the day after this uploads, so look forward to that. I've got some board game content coming on YouTube in the coming weeks, look forward to that. That's the big one. Just look for Laura K. Buzz. You'll find all the stuff I'm up to. What about you, Conrad? Where are you at on the internet?
Oh, you can find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky. You can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman, where I'm on usually 3 days a week, Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. You could buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
This is correct. And you can get that at patreon.com/Jimquisition. And I stream also on Twitch, Twitch TV, Jim Sterling, an irregular schedule, but do swing by. We've been playing a lot of Sengoku Basura, weirdly. And what else do? I have wrestling dates coming up. This Saturday, on the 11th, January 11th, I'm going to be in Leeds for True Grit Wrestling. So look up True Grit Wrestle on social medias for info there. And then on the 19th, so that'll be the next week, won't it? Yeah, January 19th, I'm going to be back in Huddersfield for Tidal Wrestling, where I have a no disqualifications match coming up, and if you've ever seen me in one of those, you will know that it's going to be fucking amazing. So do come check out Tidal Wrestling if you can. Other than that, that's it, actually. Yeah, just thank you so much for listening and all of your support, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.